Morning, everyone. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approval of the agenda for today's meeting, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The abstentions? Motion carries. The agenda is approved. And by the way, Bob has graciously offered his services as scribe for the meeting today. Thank you, Bob. Okay. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the February 26th meeting. I will entertain a motion to accept those minutes as presented. So moved. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approval of the minutes from the February 26th meeting, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Please record that the minutes were approved. Next item on the agenda is public comments. We have no one in the room. So I will move on to the next item on the agenda, as we always do, is review and discussion of the February 2025 financial reports. So we'll start off at the top like we always do. And I will solicit input from everybody as we move forward. So in the very first page, standard. Right now, the positive year-to-date operating of $826,000 favorable to budget. I think that's a really good number. Obviously, as we trend forward, the idea is, how much favorability to budget do we end up? We're now in February, so you got to figure there's actually 2 more months left in the fiscal year. So I think it's a good number where everybody's comfortable with that. Any questions, any comments on that first page? Okay. All right, next item is the operating account summary. Pretty standard. It's a detailed account of where that 827 is regard to favorability to the budget. Been through this one before, not a whole lot to decipher there. Any questions on that one? Okay. Next item is operating results. I had one question that I think I want to ask the finance team. If you looked at the legal fees and other costs, do they have any correlation to the F&B, the food and beverage transition? In other words, did we incur those legal costs, which is fine if they are. And if not, there were some other things that, normally with that amount, we're talking, like $15K. The question would be, is it due to all of the required things that needed to be done with the F&B transition? So unless anybody has any questions, I'm going to post that as one of our questions. All right. Anything else on the operating results page there? All right. Moving on to the next one is net operating by department. Any questions on that one? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Actually, look at we did very well this month. And then again, there's your 826,552 to 827K favorable to budget net operating costs, or net operating numbers. So, again, pretty self-explanatory. Again, from month to month, my own personal input is there hasn't been a lot of variance month to month. Things are moving along as they say, as they should. And I don't see any anomalies on this report. So any other questions on that one? All right, moving on. The operating summary. Again, that's just the summary, and it's on the expense side as well. Again, you're looking at the 27. Again, at the risk of repeating myself, things are moving along as they have in the last several months. No anomalies noted on these reports. And as we said earlier, 827K favorable budget is a good place to be with only 2 months left in the fiscal year. Any questions on that one? Okay. And Bob, if you want me to slow down, I'm trying to go fast because
that's what takes time.
I'm not.
I got the video too.
You got that's right.
And you got a quorum. Take your phone.
No, I know.
You're all right.
I know. We're good.
Don't worry about me. I'm old. She ain't gonna be here next week.
Don't say that. All right. Next report is pickleball. I don't know. I actually had a question. If you look at the net op was a little bit lower than the budget. And the question is that just due to, a slowdown, the season, a lot of outdoor play and so on and so forth. That's, I mean, I think we could go back to the same time last year and look at it and say, for these couple of months, is the net op a little bit down from what they budgeted. I think, again, not a problem. We're talking a small amount of money, but the idea of just understanding that the seasonal aspects of that sport affect its ability to meet the budget and so on and so forth. But again, nothing to worry about. Any other observations, questions, concerns on the pickleball report?
Just one comment on with regard to pickleball and the platform tennis. The utilities are well over budget on both of them, and seems a little odd given the season. Outdoors,
Good catch. All right. So if the committee is in agreement, how about I send that as one of the other questions? We'll send the finance team to say, we noticed that utilities in all three of the racket sports are up from budget. Is there a specific need to look into that? Okay.
yes, sir.
Thank you, Randy. Hold on one second. All right. Anything else on tennis? I'm sorry, on pickleball. All right, moving forward to tennis. Again, tennis was right on the button there, and there was no real variance with regard to this particular month, and they are certainly doing a little bit better than the favorability of the budget for year to date. Okay. Again, noting Randy's comment about the utilities. And then next one would be platform tennis.
Yeah.
And you notice the same thing. It's the utilities are there, but again, from a net operating, they're a little bit off, a couple $100, and that's again nothing to worry about, nothing even to report on. Any questions on platform tennis? All right.
By the way, I just want to let you guys know that pickleball is so popular that my grandson plays JV level pickleball for his high school.
Is that right? Where's the high school? Where's he located?
He goes in
Where's he located?
Mount St. Joseph's in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And it's not just it's Catholic school, obviously, but
my kids went to
it's not just Catholic. It's public schools and stuff like that. Now, not everybody has a team.
Interesting. I didn't know
It's growing.
I didn't think
at the high school, and they're good. I mean, they play aggressive.
Yeah. Are they getting NIL money?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
No betting yet. Betting hasn't gotten there yet.
All right. So anything else on platform? All right. So after this discussion, I'll take the utility costs for the racket sports is one of the questions we have and forward to the finance team. All right. Next item up is aquatics. Made one note when I went through this report. I said, it's still favorable to budget, but the net op was much better last year at this time than it was this year. And I don't know if that's a trend, if that's something that we need to worry about, or at least question or bring to light the fact. But if you look at the year to dates, when aquatics were, it's, I mean, year to date actual of net operating 25,163, but year to date last year 69,261. They were so. I mean, if you look at it too, if you look at the year to date budgeting, the net op at the bottom, they were scheduled to be negative 9,500, and they're actually 25,163 to the good. So they're doing great stuff over there. They really are. But again, just not nitpicking, but the idea of there's a like a 44K difference between net operating year to date from last year to this year. So I don't know if there's anything that we need to bring up you know, if it's class participation, you know, in other words, all the things that they're doing there, especially in the wintertime, the sports core pool. But just bringing it to everybody's attention. Again, overall, it's right where it needs to be. So again, I don't want to raise any red flags because I don't think they need to. Any other questions on aquatics? All right. Next item is combined golf ops. In a note here that if you just look at the year-to-date numbers again, are better than last year. I mean, that just so you know, if we were talking about, if you looked at the past couple of years about the investment that's been made in the golf course, and you look at this operating thing, I think it justifies more than justifies the expenses of putting in a new irrigation system. I mean, we are on an uptrend here, and that irrigation system is only going to make that course that much better. And John and Justin, you know, and his team are making that course look really, really good. I think, yeah, somehow it shows up here. I mean, clearly they're running it the right way, and the numbers show that.
Membership
Way up to yeah, we've
done a good job.
been bringing that up in the golf advisory as well. All right. So anything else on combined golf ops? All right. All right. Next item is the clubhouse grill.
Closed.
Yeah. You know, my note here is that if you look at it, it's $18K favorable to budget, but it's $10K lower than last year at this time. Year-to-date numbers. So, you know, yeah, we'll see what happens. Like, you know, I can see, yeah, that place, and I know, and you know, I don't want to speak for Frank as golfers. That place stayed open all the time, you know, throughout the season, and I know when they closed. Even if they lost a couple of bucks, I'm sure they'd more than make it up in the, you know, in the summer and the playing season. So I, for one, just throw a suggestion out there saying if there's any possibility of keeping it open the entire year, then, you know, then we should. But, yeah, not my decision, but, yeah,
They looked into it.
I'm sure they have.
Losing proposition to keep it open.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it really is. I mean, you hear some people that, you know, oh, it should be open all the time. But, you know, look, the numbers, you know, you might, when you play, but, you know, it's open for 14 hours and, you know, 13 of them that, you know, nobody's there. So,
And all that.
you know, so, you know, some sort of semblance of that. Anyway, so Clubhouse Grill, again, it's, you know, see what happens moving forward. I think it'll be fine. Nothing else on the Clubhouse Grill. Move over to Beach Club. I hate to say that one's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty standard going through. There's no surprises there.
I have a question on Beach Club.
Randy, please.
Services and supplies. I think there was a question asked last month about services and supplies. I don't know whether it's Beach Club or something else. And I think the answer was that they were credit card fees. And they're well over budget on service and supplies here. The Beach Club is closed, correct? So,
Correct.
not sure.
Yeah,
what
they still, even though it's closed, they still have to maintain some of the utilities there. They don't shut the building down. It's,
Yeah, right.
You know, they still keep it.
Yeah.
Not operational at the retail level, but operational just to keep the.
Does, how long if the new vendor has the option of opening that up year round?
You know, at the end of the day, I would say the answer would be, I'm sure the option's there. Whether or not it's practical doesn't.
Yeah,
I would offer.
Better than anybody else.
I just personally, I think it's very impractical to try to open it the entire year. I
Pretty cold up there.
Yeah. Nobody's going. I mean, what do you have to think about it? The allure of the Beach Club is to be out there on a deck in a nice sunny day, beverage in hand, enjoying the weather. And now, according to this year, it's going to be some music in the evening. So,
Yeah.
I don't think you can do that in the wet time, and I kind of vote against it anyway. So,
But even secrets, stay open.
right, yeah,
He knows.
yeah. Okay. Anything else on the Beach Club? Pretty straightforward. But Randy, your point is taken. Let me make a note and see if we can get an explanation as to what the services and supplies were.
I mean, overall, they're good for the year. It's just, I think I saw that elsewhere too in another report. So,
Yeah, and I mean, these kinds of questions, if you think about it, we'll get answers, and then we don't ask them again because, obviously, John and his team will give us the answer to that and go, now we know, okay, I already know why they did that because, again, it's just maybe it's maintenance that needed to be done to the building. Most likely, that'd be my guess, if I were.
well, they have a maintenance line item, but they, like I said, there was a question last month on the services and supplies, not Beach Club, I don't think. And the answer was it was credit card fees. So,
Yeah. Okay.
that's a
All
lot.
right. I made a note to have that as one of the questions going forward. All right. Anything else on Beach Club? All right. Next item is beach parking. Again, pretty benign, pretty self-explanatory. It's right on where it's supposed to be. And again, with it being closed, there's not a lot of activity, not a lot to report on. All right. Next item is the yacht club. One note here is that if you look from a net up this month, they did better than budget. But that's the good news. But the bad news is, unfavorable to budget year to date at 182. So, I think that's kind of self-explanatory there. Any
The question I had is that because they're transitioning?
Say again, please.
That was kind of the question I had. The year to date net operating is it down because they're transitioning vendors?
No, it's been trending down for the past, I know, at least 3 months, if not longer. Yeah. Again, it's not a loss. It's a negative variance to budget. It's really what it boils down to. They did so much better this year. I mean, I know a lot of people that are watching this meeting. The idea is like we're not in the red, but we're just not making as much money as we did last.
Actual.
Yeah, the actuals are.
I mean, the budget's just a guess.
Yeah, and the actuals are there, but again, they're not. They're not making what they used to make, and we know that you're looking at a trend and a threshold of saying, hey, they're capable of doing this. Yeah, plus or minus, the sentiment of the community, plus or minus the effect weather has on events outside, so on and so forth. Those are variables that you have to deal with, but nevertheless, they're there, and I think it's again pretty self-explanatory. Any other questions on the yacht club? All right, next item is marinas. Again, I know no real issues there. It's there was some
Just out of curiosity, when we're looking at the yacht club, is the second floor included in these numbers?
yeah. If you look at it, there's
Okay.
a food and beverage banquet, food and beverage
Okay.
for regular retail. So yes. They look at facility rental, merchandise, food banquet, and food regular, and then beverage banquet and beverage regular. So those numbers are included. Okay. Next item is the reserve study. The balance is 7.1 million. My only question that I wrote down, is there any additional spending in the bulkheads plan? Because that there was a so far 843,000 on the expense side, and right now the balance in that fund is 592. The question would be, is that enough? I might, again, are there any additional expenses before the end of this fiscal year, right, or April 30th that might have an effect on that 592? Any other thoughts, questions, comments? All right. Unless committee is an issue with that, I'm going to move that one as another one of the questions we ask the finance team. All right. 4 questions. All right. Next item is the capital summary. again, no big changes. Everything's kind of where it needs to be. I don't know that there's any additional planned capital expenses, but if you go back up to the previous report, you look, there's still 92K in the new capital fund. So if there's anything they needed to do, they've got some money available for any capital purchases or scheduled or needed planned for the last 2 months of the fiscal year. All right. Moving on. Now the balance sheet. Again, we had one of the items on the balance sheet under other liabilities answered at a previous meeting. So, other than, we are $40 million, almost around $40.2 million worth of total assets, which is up to about 38 last year.
Has it ever been kicked around to sell that bad debt? There are factor companies out there that will pay you a certain amount of money. I don't know, there may be legal ramifications involved there because property's involved, but I'm just curious.
It's funny you mention that. So this is going to sound strange, but I was, being retired, sometimes I get a little bit bored for me to do something. So when I was treasurer several years ago, and this was back during the COVID, what we did is we tracked what the assessment was and what was actually paid out of the assessment.
Yeah.
And there was a study done many years ago, again, several years ago, that said the percentage of people that pay their HOA fees, and if you're above 92, 93%, you are doing very well. I charted it all out. Matter of fact, I looked at it the other day, and Ocean Pines has been above 98%.
Yeah.
For the last, at least the 6 or 7 years I was tracking it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a good thing. So the amount of bad debt, is kind of minuscule compared to other organizations. The idea would be, is it something, and I'll give John Bowell and his team credit. If it was something that was raised a red flag, we probably should look into it. But I have a strong feeling that, the bad debt is acceptable. Question would be, I think it warrants at least a question, to say, is there anything, what's your opinion on the level of bad debt that we have, and should we do anything about it? All right. So it's, kind of the two things. We got to change that 98% to 99.4%. Would be nice. I'm not going to bet on it, but it might be worth a kind of exploratory thing. Which leads me to the other thing I've said. It was weird. It's like, now I went back and looked at all the budgets and everything, and I was looking at the assessments for the past like 3 or 4 years, and
Right.
the number, what we created. I was going to create a graph, kind of another chart, just to kind of look at that. That's just busy work. Is it relevant? Is it critical? No, but I needed something to. My brain was getting a little lazy, so I had to do something. But yeah, Jack, that's a good. Maybe what do you guys think? Should we ask a question about the opinion on bad debt? Don, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, we had talked about this several years ago, and the consensus was that they have the attorneys file, in essence, judgments, and then so if the property sells, we get paid. And they said the collection rate has been close to that 100%. So it's a number that's out there per the CPAs, but it's at the end of the day, it's like $50,000. So I don't think it's a question should be asked again, just so we get updates from time to time.
Okay, Randy, what's your thought?
I think it's worth asking. Yeah. I mean, how old are the bad debts?
And actually, a couple of years ago, we ran a bad debt report, and it showed that there were debts that were outstanding of 5 years or more. Okay, guys, anybody hear any?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
No, it's not a big deal, but it seems to me, going back to the old days when I was looking at this stuff, I think it was in the neighborhood of 300,000. And I may be wrong on that, but I mean, it was lower than where it is now. And, I'm not saying that we are less efficient or that there are a greater number of deadbeats out there, but it accumulates over the years. I mean,
Yeah.
and it just keeps adding on.
Yeah.
And there are some, for some reason or another, there are people out there that just aren't going to pay.
Well, yeah, true. But, we say it added on. Yeah, it gets added on, but also it's offset by the collections because, I still go back when, and I'm sure current attorney Bruce Bright is doing a good job, but Jeremy Tucker and their firm did a pretty good job in going out and collecting the monies that were owed. Did they get 100%? Absolutely not. And none of us will. But at the end of the day, there's been a concerted effort to try and, from a legal perspective.
Make sure you understand where I'm coming from. I'm not talking about a situation that occurs where, it may be an estate involved
Mhm.
and there's some settlement that has to happen, and that takes a year and a half, 2 years. So therefore they get behind.
Right.
I'm not talking about that.
Right.
I'm talking about aged. Is that what they call it? Aged debt? Now I've forgotten the term that they use, but that's been on the books for some period of time. And some corporations, some companies, they sell it. And, they take 50 cents on the dollar or whatever it is, but they just get it out of the books.
Another company comes in and tries.
I don't know. It's maybe it's not, not big a deal, but I don't know this. I don't know what 600 and some odd thousand represents.
So,
Do we have liens on all properties that are more than a year old?
I'd have to confirm that. I think the answer is probably yes, but
Is there a system in place?
Yeah.
If a property is sold, they
Yeah.
keep our money.
yeah, that's in place. I know because there was discussion a long time ago about where Ocean Pines sits in the pecking order.
That's right.
You got the bank, and then you got any other kind of lien holders, and then you got the estates things, and then Ocean Pines. By the time you get to Ocean Pines, there's $12 left. It's like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and the group here, I mean, they've done a great job. They worked on it for years and years and years.
Yeah. They want it sounds to me like we've got consensuses. At the very least, I will send a question for us. And what's your opinion on bad debt? Is there anything that we should be looking at? Is there anything that is noteworthy? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if everybody agrees, I mean,
Is all the from assessment?
Randy, go ahead.
Is all the bad debt from not paying assessments?
No. Yeah, the knee-jerk reaction would be yes, but I would want to confirm that. Because it could be that there are. Suppose it's geez, what other things do we charge the membership with? Amenity fees are paid in full. So that's I think the answer to that, Randy, is yes, but I'll get a confirmation. Matter of fact, as part of the question that we send on bad debt, is say that the only thing that, what are the things that actually generate bad debt? And if it's only the assessment, then okay, now we know.
Yeah, I think we're just asking for a little more fidelity on bad debt. Yeah. A little more clarity.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good discussion. Okay, next item is, so we're done with the balance sheet. Next item is our cash investments. And right now, look, total of 13,487. That's just pretty standard.
Taylor Bank short sweeping.
Yep. You got Bank of OC, Taylor Bank, you got Treasury bills, and then, Bank of OC, CDARS, 12 month and 6 month. So, yeah, the treasurer's report every month at the board meeting shows the money that we earn on interest on that too. I think it's a nice piece of income there. All right. Next item is the membership report. This I don't see nothing that's really outstanding. Anybody have any questions on the membership report? All right, seeing none. Don and Randy, Don, did you finally get the email that I sent with these last 3 reports on it?
I just checked and it didn't arrive. So it shouldn't be that much different than the regular reports.
No, it isn't. Guys, Randy, did you get it?
Yes, sir, I do.
Yeah. I don't have you in my do not send list, so I don't know what happened.
Okay. And it's not my spam, so.
Okay. All right. So let's look at Rec and Parks. I thought it was very interesting that if you look at the, this month, the revenues were big, on the plus side, favorable to budget by $12,000. The expenses were a little bit higher, but nevertheless, I think if you look at it, they've done very well. And my penchant for going to the year-to-date numbers, and they're doing a little bit worse than they did at this point last year. If you look at the net operating of 392, 484, and last year was only 367 or 35. So again. Are there factors that are contributing to that? Of course there are, but I don't know if it's a decrease in membership. If you look at it, classes and clinics, on the revenue side are way up, but special events are way up. But the Camp Ocean Pines is where it took a little bit of a hit this year. And I think we talked about that last month too. But again, it's operating within the variances that were set up and so on and so forth. But I have other than the fact that it's a little bit less than a little bit less performing than last year. I don't have any other questions on Rec and Parks. Anybody else? All right. Next item is golf maintenance. Pretty standard. Right on. Actually, they're a little favorable to budget on the expense side. So, but again, I think this golf maintenance budget, the way it's been handled is clearly, been demonstrated that it's been very productive to the quality and the condition of the course, all within standard, And actually, just one other thing again, while we go back to the year that you look at the year-to-date actuals between this year and last year, we're better by $25K. So he's getting better with the expenses on the golf maintenance side from this time last year. And of course, we're looking right now. Maybe the idea was like it needed a lot of care and feeding, and to get it up to snuff. And now it needs less to just maintain it. But actually, quite frankly, I'm looking forward to when the irrigation system becomes operational, and if that really kind of helps both in the condition of the course, which I believe it should, and and the labor costs and everything, are able to do labor shifting. In other words, the stuff they had to do to handle with maintenance of keeping water and everything on the course. Now they've got labor that can use elsewhere in the operation. So, all right, and then the last item is golf operations. Pretty standard. I think it was actually the month was down a little bit, but that's because weather, of course, slowed a little bit. But year to date, they're $123,000 better than the revenue side. Net operating is was $90,000 better than this time last year. So golf operations continues to prove itself as a valuable amenity in our community. Any other questions on that one? All right, seeing none, that finishes that item on our agenda. The next item on the agenda is a report on the questions that were asked at the last meeting. Again, thanks to John Viola and his finance team and Steve Phillips that they always get back to us with these answers, and they're very well done and they're very well explained. So I'll just bear with me on the operating summary page. The other cost category Yearly actuals are $100,096 unfavorable to budget. Anything specific that's contributed to this? And the answer is primarily F&B management fees that have been accrued at a higher amount than budgeted. It also consists of recreation, special events expenses related to the Vienna Boys Choir, more than offset by the incoming revenue. Answered that. So we also asked, the second question was what contributed to the pickleball wage and benefits being under budget by $2,300. And the answer was all three racket sports wages and benefits are under the month due to the budget being originally built for a full-time director. The current director is part-time and has less earned hours in the month of January. And then a kind of a follow-up question, that same thing, are the wages and benefits expenses spread out over all three racket sports programs? Yes. The director's wages and benefits equally divided over the three racket sports. However, a greater share of attendant wages are charged to pickleball due to there being more participants each serve. Makes all sense for both. Okay. The fourth question we asked was, although not a large number for the clubhouse grill, is there any significance to these services and supplies and other costs being over budgeted by $1,800? And the answer is primarily credit card fees for services and supplies and the allocation of liability insurance costs, which would cover the other costs up. Yeah. And for those who are following on, I mean, it's a really I want to again tout the finance team. They're very good about this kind of stuff. We read a report, we interpret it, and again, it generates some questions, and they're very, very good to A, provide prompt response, and B, provide very accurate and easy to understand responses to the questions we ask. So kudos to them. Again, it was a wages and benefits for the yacht club being over by $7,700 for January. The answer was, this is due to salaries of managers who receive higher pay in January compared to the prior year. The current year budget spread or allocation by month is established based on the prior year's wages and benefit figures for the same period. So they were catching up and leveling it back out. Okay. Next question was, what are the details of the transfer of grants/donations on the reserve summary page in the amount of $107,000? The answer is $70,000 of the transfer is the donation from the Veterans Memorial Foundation for the construction of the Veterans Memorial Pavilion. The other $37,000 is grant funding received from the Maryland Coastal Bays for the Soft Shoreline project. Okay. Two more to go here. Under other liabilities on the balance sheet, what makes up deferred casino year-to-date amount of $597,105? The answer is, this is the amount accumulated in casino funds prior to it being transferred for reserve spending. $550K of these funds will be transferred to reserves on May 1st per the FY 25-26 budget. Again, every explanation. And the last one was in the Rec and Parks report. There's a specific issue and/or situation that contributes to the combined expenses of services and supplies, utilities, and other costs being over budget by $17,000. No specific issue. The answer: no specific issue or situation. The drivers are primarily the timing of special events and league expenses, and the gas charges for the community center being higher in a cold month. Okay. Okay. That was it. So again, thanks to John and his team for answering those questions. Next item on the agenda is general committee members' comments. Around the room, Frank. Don Bonavide.
I'm good.
Andy.
I'm good.
Jack.
Where are we going?
Well, that's an open-ended question, isn't it? Bob.
I'm good.
I have one. Want to make a comment. So, with the transition of the food and beverage operation, so we used to get those reports, the detailed reports, as a supplemental report. Quite frankly, I don't know about you guys, we never really used them because the summary report told the story. So, my expectation is that we don't need to get those reports from Touchability. I mean, if you look at it, it's a straight lease. We don't handle any part of it. So unless somebody's actually going to request it, I don't see any need for those individual reports. The question then would be, and I'd want to ask John Barlow and his team that. So will they be sort of supplying us with the same kind of reports that they currently supply right now for the clubhouse, the beach club, and the yacht club? You know, and the question is, does it become,
Grill Room, Beach Club,
yeah,
Yacht Club, all of them.
yeah. And so the question would be, does it become irrelevant because all we're doing is, you know, a lease? So, yeah, I'm going to ask John that question. And again, it could be that there's no need to have those reports anymore because, you know, all they care about, you know, so I'm not diminishing it, the importance, but, you know, it's like, as long as the lease payment's made, I mean, that was the whole premise of the contract. So, you know, the idea of, you know, now reading those reports. However, I just, my question would be, are there folks, you know, out there in the community that would want to know if we're doing, you know, as good, worse, or about the same, you know, our daily operations, regardless of who's running it? The idea would be, you know, is overall, are we doing better? You know, the idea of opening up the beach club, for example, you know, in the evening, you know, now, hey, since we did that, you know, is our overall budget for, you know, our amenities doing better and so on and so forth. So I guess that's, you know, but again, I'll leave it up to, you know, to John and his finance team, but I'm going to ask that question as long as you guys don't have an issue with that.
Well,
Doug.
Monica, let me suspend Robert's rules. Monica, go ahead.
Thank you. OPA will get a percentage of non-alcohol and food. So
Right.
I would think we'd get some kind of report there.
Yeah, point well taken. You know, again, it's what format is it going to take and so on and so on. I suspect there'll be something. I mean, while the idea of it becoming, you know, unnecessary, you know, is certainly an option, I doubt very seriously that, you know, it would just go away. So I think maybe the format of the report on the 3 food and beverage amenities might be a little bit different. I suspect it will be a little bit different. So, but yeah, Monica, point well taken.
Thank you.
All right, I'll reinstate Robert's rules. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
well, in
Jack?
thinking about this, we get a fee, but also we get some sort of override from their net operating in terms of, you know, how much money is involved, how much we would be receiving in net operating.
Based on a percentage of the food.
Yeah, so that being said, in order, if our function is to validate the numbers in terms of, well, we're getting our fair share, they're treating us right.
Right.
So that's where, I guess, that's where the data comes from.
Right.
When I thought about this initially, I'm thinking, well, it's really not that necessary. You know, all we need to see is $389,000 a year, and it's done.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
But if we got a profit sharing.
yeah, to your point, I would look at that as an operational issue between Touch and Italy and the finance department, you know, which
Yeah.
we don't need to be involved in. At the end of the day, that interaction produces a report. All right. And we would just want to look at the report and go, okay, help us understand that. And knowing John and his team that, you know, they'll certainly keep their eye on total food sales, because remember, we don't own the liquor license anymore. They're in the process of transferring over, so we can't get any profit from liquor sales.
Right.
Okay, so they'll, you know, but the food sales, you know, it's 6%. So I'm sure that, you know, absolutely sure that, you know, John and his team will understand and stay on top of that. But again, I think that's more operations and less a committee issue. Like I said, I'm only looking at the idea of getting this report at the end of the month that says this, and if we have any questions about it, we certainly, like any other question, ask the NIS finance team. All right. Seeing that no more questions, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I guess I'll make my appointment. So I'll make that motion.
All right, is there a second? Second. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.